Thank you for joining us today. I'm very, very excited to welcome my guest, today's guest. She is a phenomenal woman, actually, but she's also someone I'm very proud to call my friend. She's actually a good friend of mine, but she's done amazing things in the fashion industry, and she's worked really, really hard to put Nigeria on the map. I'll let you introduce yourself because I don't think I could do you justice.
Well, my name is Omoyemi Akerele. I work with a company called Style House. I'm the founder and executive director at Style House, and we also have a platform called Lagos Fashion Week, and my role also is the executive director and founder at Lagos Fashion Week.
I want to take you back a little bit and ask you...
All the way back.
All the way back, all the way back. Have you always known that this is what you want to do? You know, you've been in... I know a little bit about your journey, but pre us working together at True Love magazine in 2005, we started working together.
We're old.
We're not old, we're vintage.
Oh my gosh, we're vintage.
Better. That was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But before that, like when you were young, had you always sort of been in fashion inclined?
So I guess I can say the way I look or what I wear has always been important to me. Or I'm not one of those people that would come out and tell you I was reading Vogue at age 5 or age 6. No. I mean, sorry, no. It was just something that came to me. And I think that's how my journey in life has pretty much been. Things just come to me and I just feel...
follow, pursue them. You studied law, you did your master's in law, and then you practiced for a year. Then you decided you were going to, this was not for you, and you wanted to go back and study. So what did you go back and study at that point?
Image consulting.
Okay, yes.
Because at the time I couldn't really define what I wanted to do. I just knew that the part I liked about fashion had to do with the finished product, because I knew I didn't want to sit down and design and come up with all of, the creating process wasn't for me, but it was more like the bringing to life process.
Yes.
But I wasn't quite sure what part of bringing to life, and my research led me to image consulting, which was fun.
At the time, image consulting was unheard of. Really, you were charting, or you were going into uncharted waters. What gave you the boldness to do that? Where do you think to say, okay, I spent all these years studying law, and now I'm going to go and do this image consulting that nobody has ever heard of?
I think for me, I just wanted more. And I say this all the time, and it sounds so cliche, but I realized that my boss really loved what he did. And I just needed to have a bit of that, call it smugness, like, oh, I'm actually doing this till midnight and I'm enjoying it. And I can get away with it because I love it. And I knew I hated what I was doing, in the sense that I wasn't finding fulfillment. So I guess you can say that the adrenaline that comes from doing something you love is enough to push you to keep you going. Yeah. And increasingly, I read a book called, you know how you don't really know, and then I read this book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, and I'm like, oh my goodness,
this is it.
This is that madness, because it's not so much about being the best or the smartest or it's, of course, yes, there's favor. I know without a measure, without a shadow of doubt that there is favor and there is some sort of divine orchestration with God in terms of all the things we've done. But on top of that is the fact that when you're so passionate about something and you're so convicted inside of yourself that this is what you're supposed to do, there's something more that spurs you on. So no matter, if you hit a wall and you're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to turn this around, move left or right? Something just comes up. I draw my inspiration, I draw my strength from God, because so many times I want to give up. People don't know, they don't see half of this, and it just feels like you're cruising through life. No, I'm not the hero.
We need to talk more about that, because people don't see half of this. They see the glory. They see when it all comes together and they conclude that it's been easy. And many times I think when you're doing interviews like this, or when you're having conversations like this, we tend to, it's natural, you tend to want to give the brighter side of it. Tell me the last time or the most recent time that you can think of when you thought, this is for the birds, I'm not doing this anymore. The most recent time.
Kemi, every year, without fail, after Fashion Week, I think 2015 was the first year I got my strength every year after Fashion Week, I'm like, I'm done.
I'm not doing this
I don't want
anymore.
to talk to anyone in fashion. People know. I just like, it leaves me so drained. I say it all the time. I think 2015 was the first year I said, you know what? It's not that bad. Nobody died, you know.
I know there must be a few, but what's the biggest frustration for you in planning Fashion Week, for example?
The truth is, we're still pushing through. It never stops. And I mean, let's start from the fact that I'm human. And I'm probably not the easiest of people to work with because I just assume everybody knows what's in my head. And you have to truly know me to be able to extract information from me because people are like, we're trying to help you, but we can't. Like,
you're not communicating.
so honestly, so much appreciation and love for people who've been able to, especially people who've worked with me since inception. Oof. They deserve like lifetime achievement awards or something. I don't like saying the Nigerian thing, but it's there. The fact that you always have to have like plan A, B, C, logistics issues, like things that shouldn't really be a problem, but at the last minute you find that on the last day there's a blackout. There was a blackout for like 2 hours.
Where?
In the Marquis.
Where? Which year was this?
In 2016, we couldn't get the light back on because someone's chair had stepped on some cable.
Wow.
So the question you're going to ask me, right, is why was the cable on the floor?
No,
why didn't the light person rig it in such a way?
That couldn't happen.
I can't answer that question, but it happened.
And this happened during the show?
It happened during the show.
Oh my goodness.
So imagine
before.
blackout. No, during the show.
So do you take your lessons from each year and try to apply them to...
Hopefully.
Well, you're still here 7 years later, and Lagos Fashion Week. So last year, just to put some context around this, how many designers, how many seats, how many bodies in the seats last year?
Ooh. Over the period of 4 days in total.
Yeah. Ooh. Do you have a number?
I think it was almost 7,000.
And when you first started?
Oh.
No, you didn't tell me. First of all, how many designers showed last year?
Last year, probably about 62.
What?
Which is too much. Yeah, we have to reduce the number, quantity of people, because I'm never about the bigger or the better. I hate those things. Like, who cares about big or size? Impact is what matters. Yeah. Like, you can have 20 designers, and but increasingly we realize that there's this perception out there that you turn people out. In fact, I've heard all sorts of things that all the designers I show are my friends. I'm like, if only I was the most social of people in this world, then we'd even understand that I'm friends with everybody. But no, so it's tough. Like this year, we tried to streamline it, and because it's grown, it's evolved into a Pan-African platform. So that means you have to make room for other African designers. So you have to really look at it, and we're not yet ready to increase the number of days.
You said something just now that I want to pick up on. You said it's not for you, it's not necessarily about numbers, it's about impact. What makes you feel like LFDW and Style House Files is having impact?
At the beginning of each year, it might not be obvious to people, but in our own small little bubble, we have our goals. So there's some things that's core, fundamental to the work we do at Style House, not even just Fashion Week. So from the beginning, it's always been, we want to teach. So meaning education in whatever way, capacity building, skills development, so that was always there. And then with Lagos Fashion Week itself, Style House thought, you know what, we need to provide an opportunity to show and present designers to the world. The third thing at the beginning was, we can't just show people who are established. We also have to nurture talent.
Right.
So that for us was in the beginning, how do we discover new people? Not just give them an opportunity, but invest a little bit in them. People always think investment is about giving money. No, the most important thing is to equip them with skills or knowledge that can help them when the money finally comes, So yes, money is great, but are you even prepared for the money? So someone gives you a loan for 20-30 million today. You walk out and, just do crazy things. We measure impact if by the end of the year, we look at the goals we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year. Before it was just about Fashion Week and designers. But if we think about the recent projects that we've been doing under the Human Capacity Development Center and how many people that have been trained in the last 18 months, it's unbelievable. It's life-changing.
So the Human Capacity Development Center. That's HCDC. Now you're going to explain that to me because I can't pretend that I fully understand it. But I know that you guys are doing amazing work.
Yay.
Because what I'm wearing is HCDC Collective, right? So this top, these pants, beautiful to look at, but the fit, which is more important. And then the last thing, this is personal to me, I look at finishing, and finishing is great. So this is a product, what I'm wearing now is a product of the HCDC Collective, that's what you're called. So please explain that to me, because I find this very exciting.
I think over the years we realized that a fundamental problem with the work we do is access to production.
Right.
Or access to, workforce that are well equipped, that can support designers or people who own brands to be able to, produce and for commercial quantities. But the question had always been, how are we going to get involved? It's been something, it's been bubbling, like, are we really now going to go and start producing clothes or helping design? You know how you think, oh, this is what you're called to do. Yeah. And then halfway through, this whole thing keeps coming and you keep pushing it. Right. And I'm like, no, that's not my job. Like, really, in every industry, some people decide to, we are a platform, this is what we do, let someone else open the university, let someone else open the factory. But, at some point it became so glaring that you have to just do this. So we
became so glaring. Why? Because the passion would not let you leave it alone.
I couldn't sleep. Like, really, how can designers, or especially the younger ones? So I approached someone at the time, and someone who had access to a factory, and I said, would you be interested in working with our young designers? And they tossed me about, and I never heard back from them, and I was so pained. And I'm just like, gosh, we have to do something about this, So heard that Nigerian Export Promotion Council had this facility that had been put together either by AGOA and the US Trade. We approached them and said, listen, this is what we're thinking, this is what we can do, this is how we can work with you. And they believed in us. You're wearing two different brands. Okay. So this is Vateswa and this is Zurizola.
Right.
And so they're like young labels on the scene who we just thought, why don't you come up with a collection? It'll be produced in-house for you. We get to show the world the capacity of what the center can do. We also get to equip the people we've trained. So
you're training people to actually work on the machines.
Yes,
you're training people to cut, to all the different steps along the assembly line of the value chain. Okay, you've come a long way, Omoyemi.
Oh boy.
I want to ask you now, when you started as an image consultant, did you have any idea at the time that 12 years down the line, this is what you would be doing?
I'm that sort of person that, yes, you have your top tier goals, you have your mid tier goals, and then you have some goals. The most important thing to me is to make sure that my bottom level goals are sort of steering me towards the mid tier to the final.
Wow.
So I have an idea what my top tier goals are. That I know what it is, like in terms of where we're going. But and sometimes
you didn't share that with me.
I can't share it because it's so crazy.
I want to know.
It's like so crazy. Like, oh my gosh, you must be so crazy.
They say if your dreams don't scare you, then you have not started.
The industry is not, you can't even call it an industry. Right. Things are not regulated or structured yet. Yeah. So it's hard to say, I know we'll do this, then we'll do that. No. But there's some mid-level goals that that, okay, maybe ultimately, for example, if the goal is to see designers like own their own stores and everybody can walk in and buy, so I can shop. I want to be in Kenya and I can shop Tiffany Amber from Kenya, or be in Zimbabwe and it's accessible there, or anywhere, and I know that when I pick it up it's something I can wear, or I come to London and it's available as well. But you don't know how that's going to happen. But you know that there's some things that can steer you in that direction. And I use Tiffany Amber loosely. I don't own it. I don't, but I know for a brand like Tiffany Amber, there's some things that need to be in place. So either, with what we do, you probably have to make sure you sort of contribute to the enabling environment for certain things to happen.
So what you're doing, to me, from where I'm sitting and from where I've sat and observed you, is creating an enabling environment for people to be able to do something that enhances our economy, that just moves the country forward. That's like a huge, it sounds like that's a macro level type of thing, but that's where you're going. This, like you said, if not too long ago, and even now, we don't really have an industry, but we're getting there, and you're pushing us along. I don't think there's any template for you to follow. What you're trying to do is really unprecedented. So I think it takes a lot of boldness or guts or madness. As a woman, it seems even more audacious, I think, for you to take on something on this level and to decide that this is what you want to do with your life. What does the future look like for you? You know, the next 10 years. Do you know?
Omoyemi the person.
Omoyemi the person and these babies that Omoyemi has birthed.
I mean, it'll just be really great. First things first, for Omoyemi to know that maybe the reward is in the future. And I guess for Omoyemi to also know that it takes time to grow and build things. So now we're getting to that stage where I completely know that it's not so much what we do at Style House or LFGW, is what everyone is doing probably as a result of what we do. So for example, I mean, last year we ran a fashion business series themed production. You know, it was based on apparel production, and the whole idea was just to sensitize people that, guys, this is the next thing on the agenda.
Right.
And whether or not it was planned or timely or whatever, you know, you have factories springing up left, right, and center. And for us, I guess in the next 10 years, it would be to see some of those things that we hope that we've been able to inspire, or we've been able to help speed along the process, either through spoken word or through just speaking what's on the heart or on the minds of people at the time, or either if we are getting our hands dirty in the process, you know. So,
and it's also a lot of jobs,
and a lot of you know. So, and when you think about the ripple effect that it would have, not just on jobs, but you know, on other sectors. Think about tourism, think about agriculture, think about textiles. You know, think about even things like the free movement of goods across Africa. Maybe it will help with our logistics. So if we think about all of that, I think it won't be a bad place to start.
I know. You know why?
10 years time, I'll be slowing down.
No, I think you'll just be getting started. Actually, I don't slowing down. You just be getting started. I get a very strong sense of your why. What keeps you up at night? What keeps you going when everything looks like, why am I even bothering? And that's inspiring to me. And that kind of brings me to, why are you sitting here? I'm very intentional about who I choose to talk to in this. And it's, at least for this first series, I deliberately chose women who have inspired me personally. And I think I said at the beginning that some of these women do not even know that they've inspired me. Some I don't even know personally, but some of them I know personally, like you. And you may not know, but I watch you and I think, okay, Kemi, those things that keep you up at night, the things that, the niggling things that I know that I've wanted to do all these years, but I've always somehow talked myself out of it. It's not the right time. I don't have enough money. I watch someone like you and I think, okay, enough is enough. Get up. You can do it. Omoyemi has been doing it because we started together 2005. And I see where you've gone. And I think, wow, that is amazing. That is the boldness to follow your dream, even when the dream does not look like much or doesn't have, you know, dreams are like that. It has no structure, it has no borders, no edges, you know, it could take you anywhere. So I want to say thank you to you for following your dream with all of that passion and all of that boldness, because when you do that, what it means is you, whether you know it or not, you give other people permission to do the same, other people like me. If you hadn't done it, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today, starting this journey of which I have no idea where it's going.
So you have to know from the beginning that, you know, you're not doing it for validation. You're not doing it because you expect people to say, oh my goodness, well done, or to applaud you. No, you're doing it because you, like you said, have that thing at the back of your mind, or that thing that keeps you awake. You're doing it because you have goals. You're doing it because, you know, you have expectations of yourself. And you have expectations, you know, from... You have people who are looking up, whether consciously or subconsciously. They might not even know that they're looking up to you,
you.
You just have to do it.
But you are the one who is holding the blueprint, basically. So you have to push through when people cannot. And sometimes when you're a visionary, people can't see what you see. So you just have to keep going. People can't see what you see. They can't even understand. And it's not that they're necessarily not nice. It's that they really can't see what you see.
Yeah, I didn't even expect I stopped expecting people to be nice a long time ago. So.
Even the nicest people if you don't look, you can speak all this English of LFDW, whatever. I don't get it. You're not a designer. Okay, you're not.
Do you know many people think I'm a designer?
Are you a designer? You're not. Okay, so what are you doing?
Send us your designs. I'm like,
not
what part of what I've been saying were you not listening to?
So how would you describe yourself?
I think we just see ourselves as the people behind the scenes who sort of, find a way to steer things in the right direction.
Call it one word.
Yeah.
Say it in
catalyst.
You're a catalyst.
Yeah.
You see yourself as a catalyst for the industry. Great. So I have to say this before we conclude. Finally conclude that yesterday was not a good day for me. I realized I'm only just starting, so I can't afford to be, so easily discouraged. But I was discouraged yesterday, and I was tired, and I just thought, I'm not doing this anymore. And Omoyemi would not let me say, I'm not doing this anymore. We are going to make it happen. What do we need to do? We will make it happen. So thank you for playing that role for me. And I think we all need, and that for me is my why. Really, if I have to say what my own why is, it's about sharing those stories that other people will watch and listen to and be encouraged and inspired to keep going. One more day, just keep going.
And you're so right, sometimes it's one more day. Sometimes it's not even about you see the
big picture. Yes, you have an idea of something you want to do. You may not know how you're going to do it, and many people that you look at today, who you look at as successes, that's how they started. But when they tell the story, that kind of gets lost. That I didn't know. I didn't have all the answers. I just got started with what I knew to do at the time. One more day. One more day. Thank you, Omoyemi. Wow, that was an amazing conversation with Omoyemi Akerele, the founder and director of Style House Files and Lagos Fashion Week. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. Please comment or send an email, or do both. Let me know what you think. I'm looking out for your feedback and just getting your thoughts on what we've talked about today. Keep the conversation going. Share this video, please, and join us in the next episode. Thanks very much.